The short answer, and the most controversial answer, but the truest answer, is that you don't need to get rid of your suffering. And the entirety of what I'm about to say is essentially a reason and an understanding to help you see why you don't need to get rid of it. And that's actually the antidote to suffering. So firstly, let me say that this is not to do with physical pain. Some people comment, oh, but tell that to people in Gaza. This is a completely different thing. This is not this. People in Gaza need to deal with the demands of the need of the time. We're talking about first world right now, the psychological suffering that the first world is going through, the psychological suffering that doesn't really meet the current demands, right? Like someone's chasing me down the street with a knife, things like that. So the first thing to see is that suffering is the resistance to experience, right? Not the resistance to something happening, the resistance to an internal state or condition. So if someone trips over and you feel the urge to help them up, you feel this like resistance to doing that, or something happens, someone drops litter on the floor and you feel the urge to pick it up. That's like a resistance on a relative level. That's not really the resistance we're speaking of here. The resistance we're speaking of here is a fundamental no, I do not want to feel this. This is what suffering is. It's a fundamental no to something that is happening internally that we are saying no to on an ultimate level. If we're doing this on an ultimate level to our feelings and our internal states, this is actually what creates suffering. So it's basically like internal resistance. This internal resistance is what the entirety of all anxiety and fear and things like that are, and hate and blame and guilt and shame. That all the forms of suffering we go through, this is what is creating it. It's an internal resistance to what is being felt internally. So the question that we have to ask is, what is it about what I'm feeling that I don't want to feel? It's a very simple question. What is it about what I'm feeling that I don't want to feel? That lies the cure to all psychological suffering. Why? Because if you were to actually look at the thing that you don't want to feel, first of all, you need to realize that most people don't realize that what they're feeling, they're actually resisting. Most people don't realize that. They just go about their lives resisting and suffering and don't even realize that they're suffering because they're resisting something. So everything that we feel, if it is not resisted, it just gets processed and it just disappears. It's like having constipation. If we are resisting emotions from being processed naturally by the body, the energetic body, which is what emotions are, they exist in like an energetic place, the same place that like if you think of where the thoughts take place, they take place in some kind of ethereal place to where our feeling, to where our sensation, to where our things happening in the world take place, right? So that's where these feelings take place. They are like energy. And if we do not process that energy, where do you think it goes? It doesn't just vanish, it stays if you resist it. So what we find is that the world is in a constant state of feeling things, not wanting to process it, accumulating it, creating new layers of stress and trauma. And then we find the world in a state of psychological suffering. So all that it takes, and the reason we do this is because we don't want to face the feeling that is being felt. It's that simple. If we see the thing that we fear feeling, we would no longer want to get rid of it. And if we didn't want to get rid of it, what do you think would happen? The suffering would no longer continue. So we usually point our finger at the sensation. We say, this sensation that I'm feeling in my stomach or chest or body or whatever it is the suffering. So I need to get rid of that because I don't like the suffering. Or we say, this person or this thing is causing my suffering. So then we try to get rid of the person or the thing that is causing the suffering when it's not. What is causing the suffering is your resistance to the thing. The thing itself is not the suffering. So if you were to see clearly, the thing you are resisting does not actually cause your suffering, you will no longer want to get rid of that thing. The minute you no longer want to get rid of that thing, you will stop suffering it. You see how easy this actually is. Now, the hard part, and the reason that most people don't want to look at the thing, is because they've got a layer of identity that is creating that thing. So, and that identity, if it drops, we all feel that identity is tied to like a lifeline. Think of it like a lifeline. And if that identity drops, you lose part of your life. You lose a part of your existence. This is what the subconscious belief is. So this is why people don't want to feel what they're feeling, is because a part of their lifeline is at stake. So there's a whole psychological entity created around this suffering that if it disappears, we fear we may disappear. We may not think that consciously, but that is what is going on under the rug. And we don't want to lose our sense of self because that is essential to us. So we will fear ultimately losing what we are if our suffering truly came to an end. So this is why people resist boredom. This is why people resist everything that they're experiencing. It's all because they don't want to lose this psychological entity that is revolving around the suffering. So this path takes courage. It takes true courage because you're about to lose a massive part of your identity that is creating this suffering. But guess what? An identity shifts every couple of years. You go through identity shifts every time you pick a new outfit. You go through identity shifts all the time. This is something that we have to get used to, is completely changing our identity and our sense of self. We cannot lose our sense of self. It cannot disappear. So if suffering was to disappear, guess what would happen? Nothing. You would just be happier and happier, and you would end up unconditionally happy. So the first thing to ask is, what is it that I am avoiding in this experience that I call my suffering? And go there. I mean, go there. Like if I said, go to the yellow pages and find me a number that ends in 52, you'd go to the yellow pages, literally. You'd open up the pages and you'd look for a number that said 52. You'd go there, right? Literally. I mean, go there with your feelings and your emotions. Actually go to where they are. Where are they? Is it in the stomach? Is it in your chest, your head, your throat? What happens when you do go there? What actually happens? Is there something in there that is creating this suffering? You'll never find it. It's always a neutral emotion, a neutral sensation. The only thing that would prevent you from going there is your thoughts. So now we're going to a new layer, and the new layer is another practical layer. It's to ask the next question. What is it that is suffering this suffering? So we always say the term, I am suffering, or I am anxious, or I am this thing. What is it and who is it that is actually suffering the consequences of the suffering? I want you to now find that. Find it. Don't just dwindle around your mind. I want you to find the entity. Is it a tiny little speck in your head? Is it some kind of circular object? Is it some kind of thought? What is it? And what you'll find is that you don't find that either. You never find the suffering, and you also never find the one that suffers. Tell me, how could you ever possibly suffer if you could not find both the suffering and the one that suffers? You'd have to be, I don't even know, there's no possibility, right? So do you see how simple it is to actually solve this issue? The hardest part is coming to terms with how easy it is to be free. That's the hardest part. I'm in Japan right now, just walking around Osaka, and I felt inspired to record this video. I have a community and I also have a retreat happening at the end of the year. If you're interested in what I'm sharing right now and you want to hear more and you want to go deep into this understanding, I'm there to share it with you, and I'd love to see you there. Have an amazing day, guys. Take care. Bye.